Well, we haven't seen anybody since we've returned. You know, it was about a 14-hour travel trip, so got back late Sunday night. I'm still not quite sure whether to have breakfast, dinner, or go to bed. But we can only hope it'll be a positive learning experience. We played 3 really good teams. We did not perform well beyond our backcourt. I think our backcourt played and consistently showed what they're capable of doing, but we are a work in progress, and we have a few more days to get on the practice floor and get ready for Riverside on Friday afternoon. Well, and I think November top 25s are usually more scheduling. You know, if we'd have played those 3 teams as our first 3 games, then we might not have ever been in the top 25. I think anything that happens preseason through almost December is just a reflection of how you finished the year before. And because people, our game isn't as televised as men's basketball, so they really don't have as much to go on. I was more disappointed with how we performed, period, whether we were in the top 25 or whatever we were in. I would have thought we've played enough big games that we would have handled the environment better than we did. I mean, at one point against Notre Dame, I think it was 30-9, and it didn't feel that close. Again, we had good backcourt play, but our front line struggled mightily in all 3 games. And again, you're in a situation where you're playing every 24 hours, so there's no practices to be had. You just got to lace it up and get out there. And I think probably the best thing was, there was 8 teams there. There was 2 different divisions. We saw a lot of great basketball. We saw a lot of great programs, how they were run and how both from a bench standpoint to a court standpoint. And that's what I hope we came away with and what we saw, as to where we need to go to be able to compete at that level. But was it disappointing? Of course. Of course it was. No, because what made Notre Dame was Q and Janae. Q had 25, Janae had 34. They also guarded their best players in the backcourt, turned them over, and if the shuttle driver had allowed them, they probably would have driven us home to the hotel afterwards. So we have those 2 kids expend that much energy. If there was one thing I could have changed about the tournament, I would have changed the order with who we played when. And we had 2 knee injuries in 13 days going into the tournament, so all of our speed is now on crutches. They have no backups now until we get home, and you have to deal with it. But we had no practice opportunity after losing those 2 kids. So I thought that Oklahoma would probably be eventually a throwaway game. I didn't know if Q and Janae could 14 hours later come back and play against one of the best backcourts in the country, and incredibly and unfortunately, their All-American tore her ACL in our game from Oklahoma, Whitney Hand in our game. So I wasn't surprised. I didn't think, I knew, first minute of the Oklahoma game, I knew to try to get ready for South Carolina, because I didn't think Janae and Q had enough in the tank, and unfortunately, Paris, JB, Allison, no one brought their A game or their B game or really even their C game. Yeah, it was tough. It was tough. We bounced a little bit against South Carolina. I think, again, our guards played well. And Allison came back. And Allison Duffy played pretty well in the South Carolina game to give us a little bit of confidence. But we just need to practice. Those are great teams. We could have done the same thing and won 3 games. We could have performed the same way and won 3 games over 150 other teams. But we wouldn't be where we're at today, and with the goals that we've set. I still, if I could do it again, I'd try it, the thought of getting on the plane. But if we could do it again, I'd do it again tomorrow, because you find out what you're made of. We know, so now we're going to roll up our sleeves, and how we perform on Friday is going to tell us a lot, because we're going to get after it this week in practice. Because we didn't perform to our best. If you perform to your best and get crushed, that's tough. Because then it's like, gosh, no matter what you do, they're just so much better than you. San Diego State is the toughest opponent on our schedule. I've said it to this group from the beginning, and I haven't changed my thought process. Confidence isn't our issue. It's not confidence. It's hard to be good. You have to work really hard at it. And some people, things are coming a little bit easy, so they got their head handed to them a little bit, but they're capable of a lot more. So I don't think it's a confidence crusher. I mean, that's always a risk, but especially with the way we perform, we know we can do a lot better.